It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Rene Ritchie, Andy Anako, Lory Giller here. Rene will start the show by sharing some very big news. Then we'll learn why Apple bought one of the most popular weather apps of all time and if there'll be a new iPhone this week. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly. MacBreak Weekly comes to you from Twit's Lastpass studios. Stay in control when it comes to your company's access points and authentication. Lastpass makes enterprise-level security simple. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 707, recorded Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. Drunk with conviction. This episode of MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Worldwide Technology and Appdynamics. Together, they help you build and deliver high-quality applications at velocity. Are you ready to transform your business by updating or adding a mobile app to improve your customer experience? How about streamlining your work to be more efficient with apps? WWT makes your vision a reality. Visit WWT.com/twit1 to get started. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Apple, which is going to be harder and harder to come by, I think, but nevertheless.
Good for today, though. Good for a half hour ago.
Yeah, we got something. We're going to gather the gang. Because the space is so limited in this monitor, we're doing this out of the old studio in the old style.
Neapolitan style.
We can't get four people.
I'm the vanilla, as usual.
Yeah, you're the vanilla. Yeah, it's Spumoni here.
Actually, that works because Laura's pink.
Yeah.
And I don't know how chocolate Rene can be, but it's like moose colored.
We'll have half a face on each monitor.
Yeah.
I'm going to screw it all up. I do the Brady Bunch thing, and now you have to wave down and look down at each other and up and sideways. So this is the crew. This week we're going to rotate through the hosts until the end of this event. But before we do much, we should probably say, first of all, hello, Lory Gill, imore.com. where her new responsibilities have expanded considerably, but we'll talk about that in a second. Great to have you. Are you still officially managing editor, or do you have another title now?
I'm still officially managing editor.
Yeah, because if they gave you a title, they'd have to give you a raise. Andy Anako is also here, WGBH Boston. Good to have you. And they're all ensconced, as they always have. There's no difference at all in their home studios. And Rene Ritchie's here. And now I'm going to have to change your lower third, I think, Rene Ritchie, because it did say imore.com. But Rene, tell us the news.
Yeah, I'm no longer with iMore as of this week. I've gone independent. Not like Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, but just independent.
It is like Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade because you're that bad. Something.
So I probably shouldn't put that all in caps. It looks like I'm shouting, but I am. YouTube.com/Rene
Shout it from the rooftops.
Yes, everybody should subscribe.
Channel.
So what are you going to do on this channel?
I'm going to do daily news analysis. So it's not going to be like breaking news stuff. I want to take a little bit of time and really delve into the stories and tell you not just like what's happening and when it's happening, but why it's happening and how it's going to affect you. And then once a week, I'm going to try and do a deeper dive, either on a product or on a big story, and sort of feel my way out as I go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it. It's really about personality on YouTube. And so it's not going to be all Apple either.
It's going to be like a lot of Apple because that's just what I've covered for the last 10 years. But I want to also make sure I touch on everything else that's happening. It's challenging because YouTube hates people who have multiple lanes these days. They really want you to pick one.
And you better not mention COVID-19 or they'll suddenly demonetize you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing that anyway because I feel like it's important and YouTube will get its act together eventually. But I have like this I said it in the video, I had this Aaron Sorkin-esque romantic attachment to doing news and telling a story well. I want to see just how far I can move that.
Let's play just a little bit of we could play the whole thing. It's not that long, of the introductory video. This is youtube.com/Rene Ritchie.
I'm Rene Ritchie.
And this.
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 And this.
This. This.
This.
This.
And this.
This.
This. This.
And this.
This.
This. This.
This. And this.
This.
This. This.
This.
And this. is my brand new YouTube channel.
Nice.
I'm fascinated by Apple. I've been covering the company since the launch of the original iPhone, and they've just come to touch so many aspects of our culture, our relationships, our lives. They've also become the lens through which many of us experience the rest of consumer technology as well, from Google to Microsoft, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, and more. I also love the news. I have a Sorkin-esque romantic ideal about how facts, righteously presented, can inform and empower us. I spent the first 10 years of my career in product marketing, learning how tech companies position their products and their problems from the inside. I spent the last 10 years in tech media, learning how those products and those problems affect all of us. Now, I want to spend the next 10 years right here with you, talking not just about Apple, glorified or vilified, but about all the tech that affects all of our lives. And not just about the news, about what's happening and when, but diving deep into the analysis behind it, the how, the why. Most importantly, I want to start a new conversation with you about what's real and what's not, what's fact and what's not, what's serious and meant to help and educate us, and what's just sensationalism desperate to manipulate and exploit us. It all starts here with this brand new channel and a brand new daily analysis show, because that's just what I do. But I also have a few other exciting new projects coming up that I really can't wait to share with you. And here's where you all come in. I'm starting fresh, starting over, building this all back up from the ground up, and I really need your help to do it. So, please hit subscribe and set that bell gizmo to always. It's really the only way YouTube will actually tell you when each and every new episode goes live. Share this new channel with everyone you know so we can get this all going again and fast. And then drop a comment below letting me know just exactly what you want to see next as we take all this live. Thanks to everyone for collabing and all of you for your support.
Now don't take me down for running that. I hope you won't take me. No strikes, okay?
I'm a believer in the open web.
I have to say
passion.
It's really refreshing to read YouTube comments, and they're all nice. They're all saying congrats, well done. This is a unique experience on YouTube for me, so well done. Clearly, you've got a lot of goodwill. I didn't realize you'd been in iMore 11 years. Wow.
Yeah, it goes fast.
Yeah. Man. How long have you been with us?
Oh, I don't even know. It's been a while.
Yeah, the 15th anniversary of the network is in 2 weeks, is April 19th.
Oh,
but
happy anniversary.
Thank you. And we've been doing MacBreak Weekly
when I started.
Almost as long. But anyway, gosh, I'm so happy for you, Rene.
Oh, thank you so much.
And is this what you want the lower third to say? YouTube.com/Rene Ritchie?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, Andy and Lory.
Smash the bell. Ding the button, hit the red subscribe, do all the things.
It's weird to say, and people ask you why you say it, but what happened with YouTube, and it happened with Facebook too, is because of the algorithm, they discovered quickly that people who subscribe don't actually watch every video. So they stopped showing every video to people who subscribe. And then those people think you're not putting out videos anymore. It's like this horrible catch-22. So everyone's left on a street corner. Now you have a million people on a street corner going, hear ye, read all about it. And it's terrible. So if you actually do want to see all the videos, you have to not only turn on notifications, but say, like, don't pick and choose for me. Let me know when new videos go up.
Actually, honestly, the only brave thing that's happening here, because Rene, you've long deserved this, and it's the smart thing to do, is you trusting YouTube. But you're a brave fellow, and okay.
Well, for people who don't like, so I'm putting a podcast feed up for the audio for people who just don't like to watch video.
Good. That's nice.
And it's going to be on Nebula too, and they don't have any ads or anything, so it'll be up there probably the night before it goes up on YouTube.
That's good. And so there'll be audio only as an RSS feed, and then audio
podcast,
and video.
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely
is on YouTube. And you mentioned Lisa called you yesterday, and we talked a little bit.
Yeah, she was so great. Thank her so much.
Well, we were really happy for you.
I appreciate it.
But you mentioned you may also be from time to time submitting articles to Lory for her to red pencil.
Yeah, I'm doing a column. Yeah. She hasn't gotten rid of me yet.
What? A column?
Yeah.
What is that going to be about?
I'm doing the full-on Jason Snell. It's like when he left Macworld, and like he inspired me with this. He kept doing a column because it's nice to sort of keep your toe in the water. And I'm going to do, I think Lory said Friday, so every Friday I'm going to make sure I have a column.
That's very generous of her.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, also it's
You
also
know,
as,
because who needs him? We're doing him a favor.
Well, also as content director of iMore, it's doubly a good idea. A, you get Rene Ritchie content probably at a good bargain, and secondly, it means that you don't have Rene Ritchie as a competitor now.
Oh, good point. Good point. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's for sure. So, Lory, are you taking over Rene's duties at iMore?
Well, Rene's duties at iMore have been really hyper-focused on Vector, so there's no way that I could possibly compete with how amazing he was with Vector.
So what happens to Vector?
We're putting it on hold for now, but I think you will be able to look out for new Vector stuff. It's not going to be Rene type stuff because nobody can be as good as Rene.
Right.
And we don't really have anything official in place right now, but you know, if you keep it subscribed, we will bring the channel back up eventually. We just have to figure out what we're going to do in its place. So we're, you know, we got some ideas going, some talent that we're looking at. Could be kind of a big deal.
And iMore, let you keep all the lights and the cameras and the jib, right, Rene? It looks like the same studio. Yes. I've been wondering why you've been fixing this up so much. Oh, I get it. Now I get it.
Well, I built my own studio because I always hated the idea of using other people's stuff. It just always felt weird to me, and I always thought it'd be good if I had skin in the game. And it's useful because it's in my house. I can still do it. You know, as all our network TV anchors are finding out, you know, it takes a lot to set up things in your house, and I can still use everything that I put together, which is great.
Congratulations! It's really great.
Thank
We're
you
glad
so much.
You will continue with us, of course, right?
Thank you.
I didn't even ask
as long as you have me.
I forgot to ask. Now that we're competitors,
bounce me out the door. I'll be here.
No, yeah. And as I mentioned, just because I'm doing it from this studio now, I don't have the same capability. We tried last week to have 4 people in the box, and it was too many. So we're going to rotate through you. So Alex will be back next week. I don't know how Carson's setting this up, but one of you, is he flipping a coin? I don't know.
He said musical chairs, and
whoever sits down the fastest.
Andy said he's back on his bike, so we'll see how it goes.
Hey, there's another story, big story that just broke while we were doing iOS today, and it actually is a little disheartening. Apple has bought Dark Sky. That was a shocker. Dark Sky, which is my favorite weather app.
Me too.
And it was on Android. Dark Sky in their blog post said, yeah, we're not going to be on Android anymore, and starting in July 1st. But even more disheartening to me, they're going to kill the API at the end of next year. The API was used by a lot of other apps. You could, even if you used Carrot Weather, you could use the Dark Sky info in your
weather line.
Yeah.
No API, no website, no nothing. It seems it's very, very true to form for Apple that they don't necessarily. They bought Dark Sky because they wanted better weather for iPhones. They don't want to get into the multi-platform weather business. But I mean, it's. You just wish that they could loosen up a little bit and say, you know what, we will keep at least support for other platforms going, because this wasn't just some early in development tool that they acquired before it could really gain traction. This was really one of the top 3 you would mention if you were recommending weather apps to people. So it's disappointing that it's being taken off the board for everybody but iOS.
Weather is weird because all weather apps use the same initial source, which is the federal, at least in the U.S., the National Weather Service. They get the information from them, and then they make their forecasts out of it. There are other, Norway has one that's very good that I've used for a long time. What is there a Canadian? There must be a Canadian weather service.
We don't have Dark Sky. Like a lot of people were freaking out, and I double checked, and we still don't have it. And it's not. I think it might be U.S. only. The way Pocket Weather was Australia only. Yeah. So I know it has a huge impact on Americans, but a lot of us were going, no, nobody has it.
Yeah, right. So what they've said, and I don't remember if was it Dark Sky or some other one that had a lot of. I don't think it was Dark Sky. They had a lot of. Home weather stations as part of their data, which would give them additional information that the weather service did not.
I think that was Weather
Underground does that. Yeah.
If you set up a weather station that a lot of different weather station makers support an API that lets you feed hyperlocal weather, and that it really is a killer.
Dark Sky had an iOS app. They say for now there'll be no changes to the iOS app for now. It'll continue to be available. The app on Android and Wear OS will no longer be available for download as of right now, and service will end July 1st. If you're a subscriber, because you can pay for this, you'll get a refund, prorated refund. The website will continue until July 1st, 2020. But then you won't be able to get forecasts from it anymore. The API will stay through the end of 2021. And now, all of a sudden, the Apple privacy policy takes effect. In fact, if you go to your iPhone or your iPad, you'll get an update for a dark sky. They say it's a bug update, but really it's the Apple privacy policy that you'll have to agree to.
It's interesting, though, like what – because a lot of people are just assuming Apple has bought this, maybe for the talent, but as a way to make a much better weather app for the iPhone. Right now, that pulls Yahoo weather, I believe. It's still Yahoo weather.
Which is the worst, by the way, of all of them.
Yeah, but this is hyper-U.S. weather, and Apple's got to solve weather internationally.
Yeah, why did they buy them? I would have thought they'd... Yeah, why did they buy them?
Like they would have bought a much larger weather provider than Dark Sky if they really wanted to fix the iPhone weather app.
Well, but again, all the data comes from the National Weather Service, at least in the U.S. So, and you can't buy the National Weather Service.
Yeah.
Although weather.com
they have enough money to try, though.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you get. There must be something besides their forecasts. You're not buying it for the forecasts.
Unless it's just an acqui-hire.
It must be the team, right? Or the API? I'm not sure I really understand.
Well, also, there are two components to really, really good weather apps or really good weather forecasting. Number one is, of course, being able to get access to National Weather Service data and other kinds of data. The second is having meteorologists on staff that know which weather model, which mathematical model to apply to each situation. So perhaps if I'm just blue skying here, if I were at Apple and my job were to make Apple weather the best in the industry standard, the best in the business, I would buy an app that is not just simply a throwaway widget, which is what the built-in app has been. And then I would also, just like Apple acquired a whole bunch of people in sports medicine and health medicine to create their Apple Watch and make sure that these people know it's being developed by people who know their business. I would also be acquiring meteorologists who would then not only have the expertise to be able to create a global weather app, but also have the contacts and the business acumen to create deals with all these other services to say, can we have access to your model for this? We need the New England model is no good because it has nothing to be right now because it doesn't handle hurricanes and coastal weather very well. So we're going to make sure that we have a model for this. So if Apple is really trying to be top notch with weather, it could be not just getting the app, but also that gets in weather data from everybody else, but also, again, acquiring a team of meteorologists and scientists and climate scientists who know exactly how to really fine-tune these things.
Well, it's happened anyway. I'm disappointed because I use their API on Linux. Yeah. But I'll start to use YR.no, the Norwegian one. I think I can use that now. But I've been using their API for years.
But I'm happy. I'm happy for the company. It was a great app, and if this was what they wanted to do with their app in their future, I can only congratulate them and thank you for the wonderful times we had together.
They did. Somebody in the chat room saying, and I do remember this now. They would ask you in the app if the conditions were accurate and if you had anything to add or if your local conditions were different. And then Alex Howard in the chat room is saying, Dark Sky's big thing has always been using AI to develop hyper-local weather forecasts. So I assume it's that accuracy and technology that Apple wants. That kind of makes sense. They must have some technology that's unique from whatever the weather service hands them. Mm.
I wonder if they do implement this technology, will that also end up in other places like Canada? Will Rene have, Dark Sky, but Dark Sky by Apple built into iOS?
So what do you use, Rene, for your weather?
Carrot Weather does work internationally, so I'm guessing they use other APIs outside of the US for weather, and I love that because it's abusive, and I feel like I deserve whatever the weather app gives me. And then I use just the weather widget because it's built into so many things. I often just ask Siri what the weather is.
So I'm sure there's a national weather service. Every country has a national. Yeah, Environment Canada has a.
Yeah, I'm just down the street from their massive array of satellites.
Yeah. Yeah, the Canadian Centre for Climate Services. So, I think that's probably true in every country. They have a weather office. It's important for, predicting storms, upcoming disasters, to track hurricanes, for farmers to know what the crops are going to be like. I mean, this is all a big part of the economy. So
we used to use it to predict the next ice age, but since that's rapidly recoiling, we just try to see how much land we're getting back every year.
All right. So there's the breaking news. We got it in at the beginning of the show. There's
also some people are super angry that the Android app and the Wear OS app are going away, and that's totally cool. Like if they're leaving the iOS app, it doesn't seem like it would cause any harm to leave the Android app and Wear OS app. But what Apple typically does is keep hyper-focused teams hyper-focused, and they don't let them maintain any app. So it's odd to me. It's not odd to me that it's sad, but it's not odd to me that the Android and Wear OS app are going away. It's odd to me that the Dark Sky app is lingering, because often they will pull those apps down right away as well.
Yeah. Well, you can't download it, and it'll stop working in a few months.
Yeah.
It does put pay to any fantasy you might have that Apple will do messages for Android or anything like that. They clearly don't care about Android.
I really wish that was a riff that Apple knew how to play, or at least Apple was interested in playing. That there's so many different categories, so many different badges you can give a company in which they prove how good they are and how capable they are. One of them is to be able to support users that are not necessarily using every product that you use. It's Apple's signature is the fact that if you have an Apple Watch, you're having Apple hardware running an Apple processor, running an Apple OS that connects to an Apple phone that's running an Apple OS on an Apple hardware, you're running Apple services, and that's beautiful. But I would love to see them try to get that extra badge that says, well, what if you had to just simply create a weather app that was a web app that would, in addition to your wonderful iOS onboard solution, that you had to be that you're going to commit yourself to doing an app that everybody could possibly use. I know it's not because they can't, it's because they're not interested, but it's kind of like how. It really is kind of like how when you see that, oh, well, this is this ball player never, ever, ever wants to hit. he wants to field, he wants to run, but yeah.
They're not great at cross-platform, and they're not great at services, and people keep wanting them to make more cross-platform services. And I just think of iTunes and say, really?
They're never going to get better at it if they don't actually do it, though.
Practice.
This was March 31st was the rumored day that Apple would be having an event. Yeah. I guess because it's a Tuesday and it's the last Tuesday in March, and that's what they did.
That's in the brighter timeline, Leo. We're in the darkest timeline.
Yeah, we are. The only question is when this dark timeline began, right?
Yeah. Right.
Can I say, Rene, that this is a big disadvantage because, like, we all have sources of information like that we can use or we can't use, and it's usually when we try to figure out what Apple is going to be working on or what they're going to be announcing, it's a whole bunch of factors. But for me, as soon as I go on Instagram and I see that shot of your watch flying from Canada to New York or San Francisco, I know that, okay, I had A, B, C, but now that I've got D, I better prepare to cover something next week. And now that there's no travel, I got nothing.
Yeah.
You might still travel. You never know.
Good, though, because people started, like, I don't want to say stalking, but there was a bit of a paparazzi thing when people started traveling. There was all this offline gossip. Where are they going? What's happening? And then if you weren't going, like, are they going somewhere? What's happening? And it's sort of nice that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I think there was one time when Rene was just in New York with family, and people started asking about whether or not there was an event or something. Like, whoa. I'm just hanging out with my family.
I think it was me asking. He's in New York. We know there's a briefing. I do hope you still get invited to briefings. I presume Apple loves you and would still do that.
I hope so. I never take anything for granted. It's always nice if it hapappens.
Trust me, it's not worth it.
I've girded myself for just covering it remotely.
They'll break your heart. They really will. You give them a chance.
But it is nice to not be traveling. Like, as much as it's fun to go, like, and Lory has been with the last couple with me, and it's like Christmas Eve. Like, part of you just wants to be over and have the presents. It's like just waiting and going through it is the hard part. You just want it to be over and have the presents.
If I spend no more time in an airport lounge, I will be happy. And so far, that looks like that's possible.
Yeah.
There you go.
So what would they have announced today had they had an event?
iPhone 9.
iPads, MacBook Air.
iPhone 9. There is there apparently a case site has put up a date, April 5th. I never trust the case sites because they're throwing it up against the wall. But is that credible that they might still ship a successor to the iPhone SE in the next week?
Well, the story is that the story is that Best Buy and other retailers have actually received product in boxes of cases for an iPhone 9 with instructions: do not put these out until April 5th. So if and along with people, of course, have pictures of these things
from Apple or from third party cases.
From third parties, but they certainly wouldn't ship product unless they really thought that this is when they're going to need to be on the shelves. It's hard to now. Again, we can't make any assumptions about anything. So now it's sort of, you're left wondering how long would it how long is that thread that once you yank that cord, is it now possible to stop something that was planned 8 months in advance in terms of like putting things into the retail chain and getting things in, working with Best Buy's timeline and other retail stores' timeline? At some point, is it even possible to say, Apple has told us that they are delaying this, assume they're doing this. Apple has told us that they're not going to be shipping this in April. They're going to be shipping this on March 31st. They're going to be shipping this in July now, but don't even ship these out. Well, no, they've already been out and they've already been printed with the information about when it should go out, when it shouldn't. So we're in a maze of twisty passages all alike.
And is the name 9 it's carved in their sides? I mean, is that going to be the name?
The profile looks like an iPhone 9.
but 9. I mean, yeah. See, I think naming it the iPhone 9 is a mistake. But maybe
we've gone back and forth with what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And I personally, Leo, I think 9 makes more sense than SE2, and that's because SE has it's attached to it is the idea of the smaller form factor.
Yeah,
and I think Rene also has mentioned that Apple doesn't reuse names that often. So that's twofold. There's going to be a lot of SE fans like me who are going to be really upset that they're calling it SE when it's not small, even though SE doesn't stand for small in any way. That's just the way we kind of identify with that phone.
Small.
But also because Apple doesn't tend to reuse names. So 9 makes more sense to me.
But we're at 11. I think people will say, "Oh, that's the 2-year-old iPhone."
Leo.
No,
they paint themselves into marketing corners.
Here's what they do. I know what they're going to do. It's just the iPhone.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah, no, I think that's what they're going to do because that's what they did with the iPad, right?
But someone's going to walk in and they'll say, "Do you want the iPhone or the iPhone 11?" They go, "Where's the other 10 iPhones?"
Nobody says that. Nobody, and it's definitely not in that
I want iPhone
Dick
7.
Van Dyke accent.
I just went back. I'm sorry, just to button something that was asked before. I just went back to the 95 Mac site that has pictures of it, and it's actually it's a very pretty looking case, but it's labeled as the new iPhone 4.7 inch 2020. So it's not designed for it. So it doesn't say iPhone 9, doesn't iPhone SE. So for all we know, this company is like
HTC names proud.
Yeah.
That's not the name. That's what the case manufacturers put on there, so it would be clear what this goes to.
Right.
Yeah. But also, it's also clear that they didn't know. I'm sorry.
They didn't know, right? That's because it's going to be called the iPhone, and you can't just write the iPhone on the case, right? That's my prediction.
Right. And to me, that reeks of we're hedging our bets, and we're just going forward, even though we don't have actual information. If Apple were working with retailers to tell them, okay, we're going to put out a phone, here's the specs, here's what the camera's going to look like, here's the thickness, it's going to be called this, you'd have that information on your phone case. But if Apple's not actually working directly with these manufacturers, these are people just speculating on it, and case makers do this all the time. They speculate on what the next phone is going to be like. They have plenty of, probably more rumors than we do, to figure out how they're going to make their case, what they're going to make it look like, and they just kind of hope that that's right. And then if it's not right, then they take that quick loss, but they've already got, the manufacturing in place to just quickly change what it actually is and make it look right, or change the cover so that it doesn't look like it doesn't say iPhone 4.1 inch or whatever, or 4.7 inch. It actually says iPhone SE or iPhone 9 or something like that. Yeah. So to me, that's proof that they don't know what's coming.
I think you're right. It's kind of suspicious. Also, the maker, it's not like it's in case or made for maker. The phone they have is Urban Armor Gear. However, usually when I see manufacturers make bets like that, they will make kind of like a basic run that they can eat if they have to, and they are certainly not going to box them and ship them. And if given that this is supposed to be displayed at Best Buy, probably this company had to actually purchase space on the rack. So either they were either drunk with conviction here. They had the animal entrails, they had the Pop-O-Matic Magic 8-Ball. They were that convinced that there was going to be a new iPhone and that it was going to fit this case, or at some point they were told, here is what it's going to look like, here is when we intend to ship it.
Apple never does that.
Yeah, and some companies have bet wrong. Like, remember The Verge when they were, this is my next, they had a design for a teardrop iPhone 5, and one of the case makers went all in on doing it, and they lost.
As far as I know, Apple, and I've talked to some accessory makers, does not communicate their design information ahead of time.
Which is why they pay so much to the analysts to get it off the supply chain. Yeah. Right. But it's interesting to me that like they could call it anything. Like that's just a matter of I don't know if it's Phil Schiller or Greg Joswiak or somebody goes over and makes a final decision off the list of, they can typically pick a name and then they have a list of every possible alternative and they go back and forth. They decide either the original name or one of the alternatives is better and they go with that. But like I talked with Lory, they could call it the iPhone Mother of Dragons if they want. Literally, marketing decision.
And they should.
Yeah, no, they totally should. So to me, it's more like how are they going to position it, especially trying to sell it now? Like what does that announcement look like? I could imagine if the event was on, it would be an almost beat for beat replay of the iPhone SE. Some of our customers love the home button. They've told us how much they love it. So we're bringing back the home button, but we're doing it with all and then they show off the great cameras and they show off all the things that you can finally get with the home button iPhone. And then they introduce the AirTags as instead of AirPods, AirTags is the other new cool accessory you can get. But
that's one of the things they would be announcing today, probably, right? AirTags.
Probably, and how do you do it in a way, especially if you go out and lose your phone, you're like, I'm not going out. Really not going out right now. So I'm just super interested in how Apple positions this when they go to market.
And to say nothing of the fact that Apple's never revealed here's the percentage of iPhones that we sell via the website versus here's how many we sell throughout the retail stores. Now they have no one coming into retail stores. There are rumors that there's going to have a soft opening of some stores at the end of the month. I think that's wishful thinking, but again, there's so much that we have to guess at right now. That are they going to think that it's too important to launch a new phone today so that we can launch the next phone in September or October, that we are willing to eat we're willing to waste a really big product launch on what's has to be very, very mediocre sales, and also to say nothing of the fact that we're not going to be able to do our communication as well as we possibly could. We can't bring people into a hotel room and give them the usual hour and a half. We want to make sure that we tell you everything that we think is important about this, and we want to make sure that we're showing you every step of the way what's going on. They're going to have to just ship it, do a FaceTime video, and hope for the best. I'm being quite serious here. Part of what makes these times interesting, once we partition out, we shouldn't, but if we mentally block out the danger to businesses, the danger to life, it's interesting to see. Here's how Stephen Colbert will do a late night TV show streaming from their house and without the reaction of a live audience.
He did it. It was terrible.
No, I thought it was.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking of John Oliver. John Oliver did it and it was terrible. I haven't seen Colbert's version.
Well, but he said he was used to that because British comedians don't get laughs anymore.
Right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. So now we're going to
we are in uncharted territory. Absolutely.
Exactly. What I love about this sort of TV is that it's usually so controlled that nothing can possibly happen that has not been plotted out.
They all look like us now.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And maybe we're going to see that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, here's how Apple does a product launch from their homes without the resources.
Well, what do you do if you're Apple? Okay, so clearly you're not going to do an event today. Clearly the tags, you're not going to do a press release. You're going to wait for an event? What are you going to do?
Well, they did a press release with the iPad and the Apple.
But those are look. In fact, in hindsight, that new iPad was barely an update, and the Mac.
It's a developer model.
Yeah, and the MacBook Air barely an update. You know, it had good keyboard, so that's actually more significant. But these were kind of much more like the slipstreamed product releases you'd expect every year or so with Apple existing products. A new product announcement. How does Apple do it in this day and age? Do you wait until this is over? That could be next year. What do you do?
I would take that video team. I would take that video team they have and say, make us an awesome, awesome video that we could put up on Apple.com and everybody can stream it right now. And maybe you have, Craig walking around and you have Jaws or Phil or whoever the product manager is for it.
I did like Craig's video that he did apparently in his office with demonstrating the mouse features. I thought that was well done.
Yeah.
So
he's Craig. He's great at that stuff.
He could do that, I guess.
It's a great opportunity for augmented reality. I'm saying that completely seriously. What if they did like a keynote in which basically just clear off this much of your table and just simply hold up your phone and you will see you'll be about 40 rows back, but you can change the angle however you want. And then once you get the product, you can go to the demo area and just simply put this on any space you want. If you are just contemplating buying this sort of thing, you can sort of fondle it, even though you can't fondle it in the store. If you are Rene Ritchie, Rene Ritchie already has one. But if you are an independent, if you are someone who does not have access to review hardware, you can now have video of this thing a week in advance. There's so many things they could do. It's exciting.
But how does David Bogart the only actual physical unit while everyone else is standing around waiting in an AR environment? I mean, these things have to be factored in.
Is that what happens at those demos? Now the truth comes out. Now that Rene is on his own.
It is funny because you have like big broadcast cameras and people doing live hits, and then you have like the YouTubers with their cameras, and you have the people desperate to get it up like right away, like the traditional bloggers. Yeah. And there's never enough to go around.
Journalism used to be a gentleman's occupation. Now the hordes, the riffraff have been let in.
When Periscope, and I forget the other one, Meerkat or something came out, and there was just a bunch of people trying to live stream slamming into each other at tables because they weren't paying attention. You were just like, avoid the streamers, avoid the streamers.
So predictions. Lory, what do you think Apple will do?
I think Apple will launch an iPhone 9. I'm going to call it that.
Okay.
And here's why. Because just like the iPad Pro and the iPad Air were just kind of spec bumps of existing content or existing devices, I think that the iPhone 9 is going to be that. It's going to be better. It's going to have, a better camera and better specs on the inside, but it's going to be an iPhone 8. So that's a spec bump in my opinion. So I think it is going to come out.
And to bolster that prediction, they've been making them. It seems pretty clear from all the rumors that there are enough of them to start selling them this week if they wanted to. It is easy to announce. You don't have to do a big demo. In fact, you almost don't want to do a big demo. It really is more about having it in the store so that when people come in and say, that iPhone 11 is so expensive, the guy can say, well, but there's also the iPhone.
Yeah.
And
we also have an iPhone
who's gotten a lot of rumors right recently, said that per an internal meeting yesterday, Apple is now preparing for an April release, tentative dates, announcement on April 15th, shipments on April 22nd, but we're in the middle of a pandemic, so things can change.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's I guess really what I'm asking is if you're Tim Cook, do you think Tim Cook just completely out of nowhere? I just was thinking about this yesterday. Is he going into the office?
No, he sent a video from his home office. Remember, he did it he did that nice portrait mode video in his home, a vertical video in his home office where you see him pressing the button to start it and then reaching over to end it afterwards.
Oh, nice. He didn't even have an editor.
Just like us.
Social distancing, Leo.
So that's okay. So that's good. I didn't know that. I was wondering, do you go in? I mean, if you're Tim Cook, you could make it safe to go in.
Yeah, you empty out. Look, Tim's coming.
That floor is empty.
Apple Park
for
14 days before Tim gets here.
Yeah.
I honestly think that shareholders and the board would be furious if Tim Cook did anything to risk his health.
That's true.
Just even if it's just the possibility that he will have a recoverable bout with this flu. If he is gone for 2 weeks, that is a disaster for any company.
In fact, in all likelihood, they have a 24/7 doctor monitoring him, sitting next to him, saying, "Don't touch that."
Taking the COVID test every day.
Every day, yeah.
He's surrounded by a ring of interns that are being tasked to jump in front of any germs that might come their way.
Today it was Chris Cuomo, right? I mean, like every day there's a celebrity COVID list being added to.
Yeah. Did you see Chris Cuomo with his brother?
His brother, it's the best, and they yell at each other in Italian.
Oh
no,
my
I can
God!
say no.
He called him a meatball. His brother, the governor of New York, and Chris, the anchor on CNN. They apparently, I didn't know this. This has been going on for years, but yesterday, Governor Cuomo calls his brother a meatball. And his brother says, yeah, but Mom gave me your sauce recipe. She didn't give it to you, did she? And he shows a video of him making the sauce. I'll bring you some in the governor's mansion.
But he was very different today. Today he's like, I know he's like that on the air. His job is to be bombastic, but he's really the sweetest guy. He's my best friend.
Of course. That's brothers, right? I mean, that's exactly, it is. I took it as sweet. I thought it was really funny, though.
But it was hilarious. He's like, are you going to run for president? No. Are you thinking about it? No. How do you know what you're thinking about? Because I'm thinking it, and it's no. Where'd you get your interview skills? I think you know.
He said, I have a real job. I don't work an hour a day in an armchair. It's really, really funny.
Let me reframe the question. When you were 17 and I was 19, were you thinking about borrowing my car without asking and wrapping it around a tree?
You
did that.
Dad wanted to be president badly.
Yeah.
And for some reason, and it's always been a great mystery, Dad just stopped all of a sudden. And there was always this thought, he's got a skeleton in the closet. There's something that he just didn't want to, he realized if I run for president, they're going to find out. I mean, that's completely speculation. It's probably not true. Maybe he just it was sensible enough not to want to do that horrible job. Anyway, what a family. What a family. Where were we? Oh, Andy, predictions. What do you think Apple's going to do?
I think Lory's right. I think it's going to. I think it's coming, and it's going to be called the iPhone 9. I think that's absolutely the perfect name for them to call it. When you call something an iPhone SE, it doesn't instinctively communicate where this thing is on the great pageantry of iPhone releases. It looks like something separate and other than, as opposed to. We have the iPhone 11, we have the iPhone 10, now we have the iPhone 9. People who know how to do basic math are going to expect the iPhone 9 to be lower powered and be less expensive. But the important thing is that they can introduce a lower priced iPhone into people's hands that, unlike the other models that they've been keeping in inventory, are capable of running the next versions of iOS and able to use the next editions of Apple services for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. It's really, really important because Apple's still selling a major amount of phones, but every single bit of guidance that they can see outside is that if they're vulnerable anywhere, it's to $500 and $400 Android phones that have seemingly the same build quality as a premium phone, are just as fast as most users want and have decent cameras. That if they can, but they never have to deal with that problem if they just simply say, you can either have a Samsung phone or even a phone from a maker that you've probably never heard of because they can't afford to advertise anywhere, or you can have a genuine Apple product that's supported by genuine Apple geniuses at actual Apple Genius bars, and they can do these really cool AR things that we really, really want you to get interested in, and we really are confident you will be interested in by 2022 when we actually have some goggles to sell you.
What do they do with tags?
They might save. I think that it costs them nothing to save it for the end of the year. These are there unless they're going to charge $99 each for them. They're going to be the perfect thing to buy people for Christmas anyway.
Stuffer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you buy somebody that first smart light bulb where. They're not going to just put it in the kitchen and then that's it. You know that they're going to come back and buy more. So if they can sell these for $29, they're going to be stocking stuffers. They're going to be promotional giveaways. There's no reason. I can't see any reason for them to release it early unless the point was that, hey, in 2019 when they were planning out, when they had their vision of what's going to happen in spring, and that vision did not include a pandemic, they thought, okay, well, obviously we have to release these tags sometime before WWDC because at that point we're going to be introducing new APIs that will let the developers actually support them directly. I could see that would be the reason why they would want to get them out in April or May, so that by the time the real magic of what these things can do are supported by APIs, developers can buy them in quantity wherever they want. So, but they can still, it still makes sense for them to do it in fall. I don't think that, especially something that there's going to require a good demonstration, software support. and maybe going into a store just to see how the hell these things work. I do see them delaying these things.
Laura, you agree tags in the Christmas?
Yeah, well, actually, Andy makes a good point, which is WWDC would actually be a great time to release Apple tags.
Is there going to be a WWDC?
Well, so far, there is going to be a virtual one.
Remember, Google said we're going to do a virtual Google I.O. and then said, yeah, maybe not.
That's true. That's true. So what they could still do, though, even if they don't actually hold a full conference, is something like a keynote address where they kind of, lay out the groundwork for the next iOS, and at the same time say, and here's these Apple tags that we're going to send out to all of these developers, and they're going to, use them and try them out, and then they'll be available this fall. Or maybe they'll announce it publicly so that you can purchase them right away in June. It makes a lot of sense for them to do something like that, so that just like what Andy's saying, by September when the iPhone 12 comes out, it's well positioned along with LiDAR to work well and have developers already doing stuff with it and developing for it. So I think potentially they could come out in June.
All right, Rene. So Andy and Lory agree that it will be the iPhone 9. It will be released this month, early this month, right? Maybe even this week, possibly. Tags for Christmas. Your turn. What is your prognostication?
My guess, just based on what's going on now, is that if Apple does decide to go forward with it, we'll see it mid-month. It'll be a press release drop. I don't know if they'll bother to do media beforehand or just drop the press release and then start calling people. Those are always fun days for everybody. But I think that'll be the way that they'll go. And because it's a known and understood product, everyone knows what an iPhone 8 is. Everyone knows what the iPhone 10R or 11 internals are. And that's a sort of an easy story to tell. Again, it's everything you loved about your home button iPhone, but with the new specs. And they've told that story with the iPhone SE. They told it with the iPod Touch. It really is. This is the thing that you're familiar with, and we're just updating it so that you can continue to enjoy it for a few more years. And the tags, I agree. And Apple can do like a cheeky WWDC like they've done in the past. Like, we're introducing size classes. There's no real need for them right now, but we just think they're good things to have. So there could be hyper-localized or better APIs for location-based services, including indoor, very spatially aware APIs that will come into their own when they introduce something in a September or October event.
Do you think developers have already been seeded with these?
There's always like some favored nation developers like who do the demos. Like if they were going to do an event, they would have a demo on stage of like something that shows off the like a game that shows off the process.
And they would have been given that information maybe. They
would have like a kid. Well, they'd be brought to Cupertino and locked in a vault and told him, you have 24 hours to get this app ready for demonstration.
Yeah, that's why that is a good question about Apple actually pulling off a virtualized version of WWDC. Google said that they just did not have enough time to figure out how to get everybody at Google collaborating so fast and so effectively that they could put together all the content and all the programs that they needed to put together. We're going to see, inside the virtual spaceship, we're going to see Apple figure out how to create secure communications between different teams so that they can continue to do at this breakneck pace that usually precedes WWDC everything that needs to get done. I wouldn't be shocked if they simply say, well, we have to back off of this because the situation changed. We didn't think that would be like this, but it is like this.
Two different.
And they did an app like for when they were showing off the AR capabilities of the iPad. None of those apps were ready yet, and so they had a video that they put out that showed apps that you can't get right now and how they were using the LiDAR for things like chair placement and room mapping and all those things. And so they could have demonstrations of, I'm not going to call them fictional apps, but builds they have internally from developers that they can show off in a video that aren't quite ready for download yet.
Good article in the Information yesterday, Nick Bastone and Wayne Ma, how Apple is working from home, talking about the challenges of coming up with these new products, getting them out. Foiled prototyping, factory photos stalled by secrecy, travel bans that slow decisions. The tech industry's most important hardware maker is still figuring out how to manage a remote workforce as COVID-19 disrupts its operations. We've actually talked about it a couple of weeks ago about Apple's secrecy and security making it difficult for people to take stuff home.
It's kind of, I think these are the people who aren't used to it. And so I don't want to call them whinier about it, but there have been people who've had carries for years. And like you hear the stories from retired ones, like I was in the room and people were knocking on the door going, "What are you doing in there?" And I was just testing out a device that didn't exist. And I had to hide it, and I'm never bringing something home again. And they all had, and they had safes inside their house, and they're not supposed to show the family, and things were covered up. And that's been going on for 10 years. But I think that was probably managers and senior and testers and people who were just used to doing it. And now more people have to do it, and it's a hassle. And so some of them are just complaining very loudly about it, and we're seeing it show up in paper.
But also, Apple can't send people to China to look at prototypes, to look at the manufacturing process, to sign off. None of that.
Yep.
So it's not even an issue of whether there's workers in the plants. And apparently there are now. Foxconn says there are. But can you even make anything yet?
iPhone 9 is done. That's just a manufacturing.
That's the only reason. So, and that's what Ming Chi's quote saying is, it's the 5G end of year iPhone 12 or whatever it is that's going to be challenged.
And this is a heck of an excuse here. Like in normal years, everyone, Jim Cramer said this beautifully in a video 10 years ago. You have to protect your shorts. You have to cover your bids. So you go and you tell a business pub that Apple's going to be late with an iPhone, and they love those stories. They don't even ask any questions.
Right.
They just run them, and then the stock goes down, and you're great. And so every year we get this, and once in a very long while, the broken clock is right, and it's something like the China market collapses. This year, though, it's like I don't want to say that COVID is complete cover for this, but no one has any expectations for what's going to ship and when. And so I don't think they're under the same pressure.
I don't even think
Apple
knows.
Anybody.
I mean,
they don't. So like if there's a year that the iPhone ships late, like if Apple couldn't do it on time and it was a normal year, it'd be a huge story.
It's not a story.
But this year, if an iPhone ships late, it's one of many normal
everything.
Stories.
Yeah, as somebody in the chat room says, welcome to the new normal.
Yeah.
And actually, completely side note, but I feel like in a way this isn't a bad thing. We've been in this crazy cycle of, get the next new shiny out. And we've been, as a economy and as users and especially as tech journalists, very ADD about all this. Taking a pause and taking a breath, it actually feels okay. Maybe even good for us.
Well, Andy's used to 8 phones a year. Lory and I only have to deal with 2, so I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah. But one aspect of this is that in all aspects of daily life, these quarantines are going on for months. Optimistically, I think the most optimistic practical thing I've seen has been July, before things can really start to get back to normal. And that's several months in which people break habits that they've been engaged in automatically for decades, possibly. So what happens when we just sort of break people from the cycle of anticipating that a new phone is going to be out in September, so I'm going to swap out my old phone for a new phone? What happens when they don't get the new phone and they realize that actually my old phone is still working just fine?
That's the real risk, isn't it? That people go,
the yearly update programs, what are they going to do? There won't be a phone for your, you bought the yearly update program for your iPhone. Now it's September.
Oh, that's
where's
a good
my
point.
iPhone?
Yeah, where's my refund?
Yeah.
Yeah, will you get a discount on the 12 months or...
And I think there's a risk. We've talked in other shows about the risk to motion picture theaters, movie theaters, that people will say, I don't really need to go to the movies anymore. I think society might change drastically, and I think it could be a huge difference from the point of view of Apple.
The flagship phone business, like beyond just Apple, is very much like big blockbuster movies. There's a new device comes out, there's a huge spike in sales, and then it trails off to the rest of the year until there's very minimal sales when everyone's expecting the new one. It's not a steady thing. It's not like you go nobody's like, oh, the new Ford, the 2020 pickup's about to drop. Everyone's waiting outside for it. Like they have end of the years. Like it's a very different market. This is still a very hit-driven market, and that's the big question: is that Apple doesn't really need a new iPhone every year, but they do, because if you're ready to buy an iPhone, if it's been 2, 3, 4 years and you're ready, they want you to get the latest one. They don't want you to have to get an iPhone that's 3 years old and you're going to keep it for 3 years. Suddenly it's a 6-year-old iPhone. Whenever you buy it, they want you to have like 3, 4, 5 good years on that phone. But also for the holidays, they're counting on all that, essentially free marketing of, oh, wow, there's a new iPhone, there's a new Galaxy Note, there's a new Pixel. Like all of these companies have that is how they are used to marketing these phones. And if they can't deliver that for the holidays, or if people aren't interested in that for the holidays, that whole industry upends.
Don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's Change is neither good nor bad. It just simply is. Just like the color red is a great color for a sports car, bad color for someone who is attending a funeral. It just is. And so we can't help but wonder a year from now, what habits do we decide to come back to? What do we reject because we just discover we didn't need it anymore? Versus how when people discover that, hey, I was able to work from home and it actually worked out great. And now can I, particularly if I am a very, very much in demand management person or engineer, can I simply say, as part of my employment package, my contract, I insist that I only have to come into the office 2 days a week? And if so, if that happens, what does Apple do with this enormous wedding ring they plopped in the middle?
You say that though, Andy, as a happy, confirmed old introvert. I think there's going to be just as many, if not more, people say, I will never do that again. Take me to, I got to get to work. I want to work.
There's a lot of people that have been telling me how bored they are and how they hate that they have to work from home. And these are all people that told me, oh, I'm so jealous that you get to work from home.
Yeah, once they do it, it's really true.
Yeah, it's a different story.
Yeah. Notice, by the way, I'm coming in here. I
love all the parents saying that teachers should be paid $1 million. I have never understood that better than I do right now.
Yeah.
Said as a man who has no kids, you don't even know the half of it. I mean,
I'm
George's
watching all the
kids
people
are
going,
nice.
oh my God, my kids are. I'm watching everyone on the internet go, oh my God, I have to homeschool my kids. What? This is the hardest job I've ever had. Why aren't they paid $1 million?
I had no idea how dumb my kids actually were until I had to teach them myself.
Or until I didn't realize how dumb I was until I realized I have no idea what my kids are learning.
It may be the case that, when this is over, at some point it will be, everything will go back exactly as it was. That people will be thronging to the movie theaters. They can't wait to get back to the office. Restaurants will be full. And I think that's, in a lot of respects, that's probably true. But there will be some long-term overhang here. Some of it will be PTSD. I mean, I'm not a germaphobe, but I have a feeling the rest of my life I'm going to be like people who survived the Depression. I'm going to be saying, you going to wash your hands before you touch that? Did you just cough?
My question is it like those sci-fi movies where you've lived your entire life underground because it's scary outside, and then someone tells you, no, it's a lie. Outside is recovered. Right. They just don't want to give up their power. And you go outside and you look, are you terrified of the sky or are you exuberant and happy?
Exactly.
Now I'm nervous. I go outside and I don't want to touch anything and people are looking at me and am I socially distant enough and who's coughing? And it's just an incredible amount of stress. And is that going to stay, or am I going to go outside and just breathe in and start running again like I'm a 4-year-old?
I'm kind of concerned about what this is going to do to labor. I'll make this short because I know this isn't, post-apocalyptic.
No, it's good. I think there's some stuff to talk about here. I don't mind that. Yeah.
I think that there's a chance that people who run corporations are going to be taking a very, very hard look at these numbers and realize that, well, we had a sharp reduction in productive hours, but nonetheless, we didn't get as much done as we would have hoped, but it is encouraging to make us think that we could actually double up and triple up certain jobs here. Also, there are a lot of jobs that we thought had to be done by a fully salaried person inside an office. Perhaps we can actually now put these jobs out to bid to contractors and make even our middle management part of the gig economy. So it's any time that I've said this before, that if the reason why self-driving cars are getting billions and billions of dollars of investment and other more promising and more practical technologies are kind of dying on the vine is because anytime that you come up with a technology that could allow corporations to fire lots of employees, they're going to invest the hell in that and develop that. And so if you get a technology that means you no longer have to hire drivers, you no longer have to have truckers, you no longer have to have all of these people that you probably didn't treat very well or pay very well anyway, this is a technology they desperately want. So working remotely from home could be both a life-saving thing for the American worker and the worldwide worker, or it could just simply say, well, since we put in all this infrastructure for allowing people to work from wherever they are, let's just contact some people in India and Pakistan and see if they can actually do these spreadsheets and fill out these forms for us just as well as someone that we were paying $90,000 a year. So it's a very interesting world we have, or timeline
we have emerged into.
I just hope my local sub shop stays in business. That's all I'm hoping for. My expectations are low.
I'm a simple man with simple needs. I just need a toasted sub once in a while. Yes. I feel like there are two things going on. There's a lot of opportunism. Unfortunately.
Yes.
A lot of, I mean, not just hackers too. There are a lot of companies who are taking this as an opportunity. It has nothing to do with the virus or lockdown. It's just, we can get rid of some people now. So I think there's some of that. Then there's also some willingness to look at a new way of being. And I don't know, the world, it's so unpredictable.
Yeah. I am hoping that it causes a lot of people who are on the fence to look around and say, well, actually, we did have socialized medicine going there for a few months, and we did actually have a guaranteed basic monthly wage for a lot of our citizens. And not only did the economy not tank, it actually saved the economy, and now the economy is thriving.
Well, that remains to be seen. It's a $2 trillion bill.
But we've signed checks that big, that big for things that were way less productive. Right. And it's going to be interesting to see if a lot of people that basically I wouldn't say the workers rising up, throwing down their tools, breaking their chains, and storming the Republic. But I'm basically saying that a lot of people are saying, well, why weren't we demanding this before? Yeah. Why weren't we saying that we get to take 2 weeks off with pay to avoid infecting other people and bring our diseases to other people?
Exactly.
And they'll start voting for the politicians who actually want to help make that thing a reality.
Well, look at Rene. I mean, Rene, you can do what you're doing, because the one thing you don't have to worry about is your health care from an employer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I forget what company it was, but someone leaked a memo from one of the big companies that was laying people off. And it said, like in Europe, blah, 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 in Canada, in other countries, in the U.S., we've made special provisions for healthcare for the next 30 days.
And good luck. Wow. And good luck.
Yeah, like, wow. And it is an unbelievable sense of empowerment that I don't have to worry about losing my house if I get sick.
Right.
That's the terms I think about it in.
No. There's certainly some cracks in the system that are being exposed at the moment.
Well, it's that old joke, right? There are no atheists in a foxhole and no libertarians in a pandemic.
Oh, I like it. Is that an old joke?
Yeah.
Was that from 1918?
It's probably from MASH. I don't know.
I know about the foxhole thing. Let's take a break. Our show today brought to you by Worldwide Technology. It was my last trip ever, at least for a little while anyway, to St. Louis to see their Advanced Technology Center last month. Wow, I was so blown away. I'm actually really glad that we got to go. Now, we also met a lot of great fans. And I was told one thing by almost everybody I met in St. Louis. WWT is a great corporate citizen. They brought the Major League Soccer team there. They're part owners of some other sports franchises. They really love St. Louis, and St. Louis loves WWT. Actually, let's be honest, WWT's customers love Worldwide Technology. This episode brought to you by Worldwide Technology and Appdynamics. Now, we've talked a lot about the Advanced Technology Center, about what Worldwide Tech does for their enterprise clients. But when we got there, they showed us all the app stuff they're doing. And Lisa and I said, we got to talk about that too. This is amazing. If you would love to have an application to deliver to your customers, WWT offers solutions that'll transform your business. And I know how important this is because we did at one point hire a lesser company to do an app for us. $80,000 later, we had nothing I would ever ship to any of you. I would never. So that's why we don't have an app. I think we're going to talk to WWT because they have solutions to transform. Great software, of course, can change lives. WWT is driven as a custom application design and development company, a whole new part of their business I had no idea about. They'll help you from the very first moment, identify specific business needs, how to approach problems customers and clients have in new ways. And they can create, I've seen the apps they've made, beautiful software solutions that make an impact. This is a company that will focus exactly on what you need, on the specifications you want. They'll help you design it from the ground up. Their team at WWT provides resources and platforms to make it possible. And because they have over 2 decades of experience, a proven track record, they've been doing apps since before there were apps. WWT, I'll give you an example, worked with a healthcare organization, we don't have to mention any names, to connect medical teams from their care center to patients at home. kind of timely. WWT created a custom software app where care teams could interface with patients. Within a year, they started seeing amazing results, 50% reduction in preventable readmissions for engagement at home patients, 35% fewer days spent in the hospital with virtual care, 60% fewer septic shock deaths in patients being treated remotely. I mean, this was an example of an app that they designed for this healthcare company that made a huge difference. I'll give you another example. WWT worked with a rental car company to produce their mobile app. Gave them a much improved customer car rental experience, lets customers in the app make reservations, perform check-ins, and return without waiting in line. You'd know the name of the company. I don't want to say it, but I'm telling you, these guys have done some of the best apps, many apps you've used. How about the one with the grocery retailer? They improved the customer experience. They had an app. It wasn't great. So they sat down with WWT and went through a design process, going through ideation, innovation, and creative work to create the ultimate customer experience. And they've hit those 2- and 3-year goals within less than a year, thanks to WWT. You want your customers to be able to use your app. You want them to love your app. You want to put something in their hands that exceeds their expectations, and that's what WWT does. They're kings of Agile, by the way. They do Agile training for a lot of companies. They do Agile software development from beginning to end, from planning and ideation to delivery. That way they get solutions for a variety of end users that are better than what they planned. Their customers are always happy, and they do it more efficiently and more effectively. They do DevOps. So a lot of the apps they do are custom apps for DevOps, driving business outcomes by evaluating, designing, implementing, and operating with tools to enhance your operational efficiency. A lot of times DevOps teams are required to write their own tools. You could get some help, make it a really nice app. And for container platforms, they can rapidly create services that scale and perform by designing, architecting, and implementing cloud-native apps in an agile fashion. This is a whole different area that I didn't even know about till we got out there to St. Louis. I'm just blown away. WWT is the best. Transform your business today with WWT. They can help you do it with apps that yield great user experiences, attract new clients, and increase customer value. They can do it in so many ways. And don't forget the Advanced Technology Center, the ATC. You can find out more about all of this by going to wwt.com/twit1. wwt.com/twit and the number 1, all one word. Worldwide technology delivering business outcomes and modernizing IT infrastructure. Good partners. They're great for you as a partner, and they're great for us as a partner. Thank you, WWT. And you help us out when you go to that special address that lets them know they saw it here. wwt.com/twit and the number 1. Apple has a new coronavirus app.
Yeah.
Which is, it's information I guess we've all had access to all along, but coming from Apple, is it more trusted? Is it more valuable? The fact that it's on your phone, you still have to download it. They didn't push it out.
Yeah. There's also a website that you can go to.
Right. What is apple.com/COVID-19? What is it? I don't remember.
Oh, let's see.
I can type it in and see. I bet that would work.
I haven't looked it up.
If it doesn't work, buy the domain.
I don't feel compelled to.
Yeah, /COVID-19.
-19.
COVID-19. Yeah.
So, why are they doing this?
To do something?
I think there's a lot of misinformation that has been out in the world and confusion and even
but is it Apple's job? I mean, they're a tech company. Is it their job? Shouldn't the CDC's website be
They're an
definitive?
American tech company, Leo, and I hate to put it in those terms, but there's a lot of abdication to enterprise in the U.S., especially in the last 20, 30 years.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Where I think a lot of
Rene,
in England, sorry.
Leo, actually, I'm sure that you've been receiving emails from all of the different companies that you have some sort of information with, and here's the information about what we're doing about COVID-19. So this is Apple's way of doing that, of like providing some information. And I think that it makes them look good. The more of these organizations get together and they say, we're trying to combat misinformation or confusing information by pointing you to the exact information that you need to help you get through this situation. They look good. We like that. it's a benefit to them to have that kind of information.
It almost feels like, though, Apple has a constituency. Like, well, we have to do this because there's some of our customers expect us to do this, as opposed to the CDC or the federal government. That's a little weird to me.
But I think going back to what I was just saying before, like in a lot of countries, like England, the National Health Service put out an app, and in Canada, everything is coming from the government. But in the U.S., like they're waiting for companies to donate masks, and it seems like there's a vacuum of leadership, and companies are not only trying to fill it, but are expected in a way to fill it. And Apple's looking around and going, where is this information? We're curating out. All right, fine. We're a company that has deep social commitments, and we believe in a bunch of civil things. And if nobody else is doing it, we'll just do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's a good thing to have. It's a good tool. As many places as can have it should have it. It just feels odd to me. I mean, there's the IBM COVID page or the Facebook. Well, Facebook has it because there's social media, but
Google's building a website.
Yeah. No, I think some of this is actually to appease the White House, right? To say, hey, we see, we're good, we're doing something.
Because they're expecting companies to do it.
Right. Yeah, because of that expectation. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but there is. I really do think that there is at the executive levels of most huge corporations, there still is that sort of meme of, like, I got into this business to change the world, and maybe they did start saying that after they got their first 30 million in options. But there is, you have, if you are high up at Google, at Facebook, at Twitter, at particularly at Apple, and you're faced with a situation like this pandemic, and you can just spend an hour doodling on a napkin, or it'll be on an iPad, of course, that it would be so easy for us to create a really, really good responsive website that, unlike some of Google's resources, don't require a login of any kind, don't take in any information of any kind. Please tell, and then tell their boss, please tell us we can do that. And
I feel like it's peculiar. It's peculiar to the tech industry. You don't see here. If I go to Pepsi, if I go to Pepsi.com/COVID-19.
Well, they're making sugar water, Leo.
But I'm just saying, this is a peculiar point of view of the tech industry, that somehow we are the stewards of the society or something.
Look at Bill Gates go. I mean, he's everywhere. He's like the CDC on TV these days.
And Bill that's different, because this has always been his thing, right? Is public health. That's his charity. So I understand that.
But there's also a difference in that tech companies are in a position, because they are the communications network for the world, because they're the dissemination grid for information and for people who are looking for reassurance and looking for solutions. They were going to help people find it. They're in a position to do that sort of thing. Just as, just like people who are in the brewery in the alcohol industry are stopped making liquor, they're stopped making beer, and they're making alcohol and making hand sanitizer to send to other companies. There are factories that don't have any experience in building healthcare devices, but they have experience in creating a workforce. They have a huge workforce. They have manufacturing capability, and so they want to switch from making Billy Bass talking fish to making an important valve for a respirator that's needed, or even respirator bags. So I'm willing to give I'm willing to be a little bit open to, a lot open to simply saying they're in this kind of crisis. Everybody wants to do something. And if you can do something that's actually positive, all the better. But there is that impulse in everybody that I myself was thinking, gosh, I know there's like an animal shelter just like a few miles up the road. Are they having problems? Should I like foster like 3 cats and 2 dogs? Because I got room here and I'm going to be here all day anyway. You want? Yeah, I've seen so many cute cat photos from so many people who are stuck at home with their cats all day that now I'm like, I'm saying that if I see a cat on the street, I'm going to assume it's a stray. I'm going to cut off its collar, not bother chipping it, and I'm going to rescue it. But yeah,
so Andy, I'm going to say I don't think that it's as altruistic as that, and Leo and everybody. I think it's a corporation, and it wants to look good because it wants to give us the impression that it's good, and we will buy stuff from this company. There's not a human behind there saying we should be doing better. There are humans that work at Apple that are saying that. But I think this kind of thing, it's really all about looking good so that we like them more. And I'm in the COVID-19 app, Apple's COVID-19 screening tool app. And one of the things that they offer in here is updates from Apple News. So they're redirecting you to Apple News so that you can read articles that have been screened and vetted to make sure that it's got proper information. And guess what? You know there's going to be at least one article in there that you have to have a News Plus subscription. People are going to be reading through. They're going to come across these News Plus articles that they really want to read, and they're just going to go, you know what? I'm going to subscribe so that I have News Plus. And they just made some money off that. That's a pretty realistic, you know, I love Apple, but it's a corporation and it's in it for the dollar. And the dollar means you make more money when people like you and they think that they can trust you. And, you know, here's evidence right in here that they've got a pathway to getting a subscription out of you possibly. Yeah. And it didn't cost them very much to make this app.
Apple is able to do some things. Swift 5.2 is out. xCode 11.4 figures the programmers are completely productive. They're going, oh, finally, nobody to bother me. I don't have to wear headphones to work anymore. Let's see. Apple is, unsurprisingly, according to Apple Insider, a 2020 iPad Pro will bend if you try to bend it.
Yeah.
Glad somebody's
doing that.
Ceramic shatters, plastic cracks, glass breaks, metal bends.
People are spending some effort.
Material science is wonderful.
Important thing. Apple is offering. There's some other stuff Apple's doing, which I think is great. They're giving free online learning consultations to U.S. teachers. You had this on imore.com. I think that's cool. You can schedule free one-on-one coaching if you're a teacher in the U.S. The stores are closed. They're not doing those great events at the stores, so they've got some geniuses who could probably help out. Educators can contact Apple Professional Learning via phone or email and ask for a virtual coaching session. That's something that's really much needed. We're throwing a lot of people to the lions saying, well, you just download Zoom and you're all set. It's not as easy as that.
And opportunities for like Google. Google released launched a site last week that is here's how to use all of our Google conferencing tools and collaboration
Classroom
tools.
is going through the roof. The downloads, so it's both a good thing for the company, Lory. You're right. There's some cynical reasons for doing this, but I think it's also it's an opportunity for them to step up. Apple is going to pay contractors. This is a problem for gig workers in general. Now, Apple has, if Apple didn't, it would be shameful because Apple's got the deep pockets to do it. There are plenty of... It
would be Amazon level shameful.
Yeah. There are plenty of small businesses who would love to, I'm sure, but can't. Pretty much every restaurant you've ever been to is, you know, hanging by the skin of their teeth anyway in a normal situation. So that's good. I'm glad Apple's doing that. They have asked their store workers to take on tech support roles. Remember the stores? Now they said, what was the laughably short deadline that they were going to turn the stores back on? It was like in a week from now, something like that.
Like April 7th, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Mid-April on a
get a little more
region
time,
by region basis.
They get a little more time at home. So Apple's asking all retail store employees to temporarily become remote technical support staff. So you're still working, irking some workers who thought they'd be paid for simply staying at home, says Mark Gurman. Duh. A subset of retail staff are participating in the program to become work-from-home Apple Care employees, and that's just so the company has enough workers to handle customer requests. Some Apple retail employees told Gurman that they felt their managers were prodding them to take part. You're working. You're getting paid. Yeah. I think it's okay for your manager to assign something to you.
That's why, again, I think a lot of these stories originate with complaints, and that's the story you're going to get from people who are unhappy about having to do something.
Right. It's the same thing, isn't it? So I will move along from that one. What about Google not putting Stadia on iOS, xCloud not putting Stadia on iOS, Nvidia's GeForce?
It's an Apple thing. It's like Apple has all these guidelines that are like historic Steve Jobsian guidelines.
They won't let you stream games, for instance.
Well, so it happened to not let you stream games, but like a lot of these were originally Apple being very Apple and controlling, and also being very protectionist of their customers. And they just imagined like anything that could go wrong or ways that could be exploited, and they just made a bunch of rules that at the time made sense to them. Like when they architected the App Store, They didn't think about, oh, one day we'll just be beaming games.
No, they weren't thinking of gaming services. In fact, I bet you what they were thinking of is we don't want anybody streaming Windows to our iPad.
Or porn.
Or whatever.
Yeah, but they're just not.
So will they change the rule, you think?
I think they're going to have to, because it was almost like remember Steam had to go back and forth about whether they'd allow Steam to work with, and it was like you could do this but not that, and it's not.
It looks anti-competitive because they've got arcade and it looks like they're being churlish. But I agree with you. It's more historic. So, but the question is, will they change it?
And how fast? Like, is this because sometimes they're like, oh, we have a bunch of announcements that we'll fold it in. Meanwhile, they get just slaughtered, for the next 2 months over it, where they could think about it and enact it in a much. But they they're also there's culturally they measure it like 20 times and then speak. It's not like they have a big public debate about what they should do and you actually see they're working on it and trying things. It's just, nope, they're being silent. We're getting angrier. Why won't they say anything? We're getting angrier. And then 2 months later, like, okay, here's what we're doing. And it's just like,
It's a big deal if you're a Stadia or a game on Stadia or xCloud or GeForce because you that's like the mobile platform if you can't be on iOS. And one of the big pitches for these is you can play it on your Android device. You can, you can get a little weird little controller with an easel on it, put your Android device on there and walk around playing games.
But I wonder at some point, because the App Store is 12 years old, a lot of the things that it was set up to do are just not the same anymore.
Yeah, they didn't.
And at a certain point, if Apple says, all right, so we're going to loosen the ties. You can buy your Comixology comics, you can stream your games, but we're charging a minimum service fee for every app, including free apps, because we're no longer if everyone's going to do an end run, especially those really, because Candy Crush and Pokemon Go, they would love to not give Apple a percentage, and that's where most of the revenue of the App Store comes from. It's these games and they're whales, and if they could do an end run, they would. But then everything that's subsidizing everything else goes away, and maybe it becomes a better market and gets rid of a lot of really crappy apps because everybody has to pay a little something, regardless of what your price is to be on the App Store.
Yeah,
it's just a service fee.
It's in there.
I
don't think they're protecting arcade. It's in their interest to have these apps available. It makes the iPhone more desirable. It makes it less desirable not to have them.
Yes. And it hurts them illegally, like you said. Even if they're not doing it for anti-competitive reasons, it looks like they're doing it for anti-competitive reasons.
There is a bug in iOS that affects you if you're using a VPN. You should be aware about if you have a network connection open and then start the VPN. The VPN won't automatically protect those existing connections, only new connections. And until the old connection times out and reconnects, you're going to be operating in a kind of a hybrid mode where some stuff will be encrypted in the VPN and some stuff won't. I'm sure Apple will fix that. It's just something to be aware of if you're using a VPN. The best thing to do would be shut down everything, then turn on the VPN, and then reopen all the your connections. That's a simple bug, easy. You could see how it would happen, and it's something they can fix. Apple is, if you're watching stuff at home, and who isn't, and if you've already watched all of Tiger King, and who hasn't? Have you guys seen this show yet?
I haven't gotten through the entire show, but I've watched 5 episodes.
I made the mistake of watching the first episode. I hadn't heard of it. I didn't know what it was. I allowed the virus into my home at midnight, and then it was at the end of every episode. I'm like, what? Wait, what?
Wait, what?
And then, and then it's 8 a.m. It's like, okay, I guess I'm just not going to sleep tonight.
It's a very well done documentary. The weirdest story ever. But once you finish that, Apple is offering a 4K movie sale, the biggest sale of the year, according to 9 to 5 Toys. Parasite, Academy Award-winning Best Picture, $10, half off. Uncut Gems, which I highly recommend. I already bought both of these. Adam Sandler, I shouldn't even say Adam Sandler because it's good, is $10.
It's on Netflix Canada for some reason.
I know. Isn't that funny?
Netflix Canada.
Yeah. Free healthcare and Uncut Gems. Well, I don't understand. Ford versus Ferrari, $13. That's a pretty good movie. I liked that. Although people who are race car experts, people like Sam Abul-Samid say, well, it's not very not very accurate. But
I watched one of those cop movies with a friend of mine who's a mechanic, and he's like, "The car can't go over the street like that and land. They would just break it." And you listen to you watch an airplane movie with a pilot, like the plane can't bank that, so you got to suspend.
Every time they do a movie about podcasting, I just watch all the mistakes.
Or a TV show, like the TV shows now, you sign a podcasting deal, it's like becoming J.K. Rowling. Like, it's like, oh, your podcast got picked up. Oh, you got to get a mansion now?
You're rich. So anyway, a lot of movies you might want to, I mean, this is nice. Thank you, Apple. You might want to check and see what the prices are, because they're doing a lot of stuff. Now, Prosser, you mentioned Prosser. So he's a reliable source. He's currently been doing a lot of stories that have proven to be correct. So he claims he has very good sources inside of Apple. I have no reason to doubt him, and they've been proving. I think there was one that he said he got wrong, but out of a half dozen or so over the last month. You get the sense that he's got tipsters, right, telling him what's going on.
He's got some pretty specific information when he has these rumors that he comes out with. It's not just, 6 months from now, something might happen. It's very specific. Like I think the recent one that he just said was that the new iPhone is going to be announced was it announced on April 15th and comes out on the 21st? He has very specific dates. So it seems a little one-on-one. I'm talking with somebody very specifically who has this information.
Yeah. The tweet, which came out a few days ago, Apple briefing happening right now. Like, he's got somebody texting him at the briefing, As I mentioned before, logistically, iPhone 9 will be ready to ship in April due to economic pressures and shareholder obligations. Apple is considering releasing the iPhone 9 in April. I'll keep you updated. And then 6 rolls of toilet paper, because he can afford that. No, I saw this and I thought, well, I don't know John Prosser. Is he who is this guy, and is he reliable?
He runs the YouTube channel Front Page Tech, and he's the one who got all the Google Pixel leaks last year and the year before.
Oh, all right. So he's got a track record.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking at other rumors. I always kind of look askance at, but we don't have much other news. So, Apple developing Touch ID for Apple Watch.
What? So, I mean, I prefer the Pulse to Touch ID because I never have, it's like passive authentication. I never have to actually touch it. So that to me feels like a regression unless there's something super special that goes with it.
There is a reason, Rene, why this could be beneficial. It's for people who don't like to wear their watch tight against their wrist.
I have a friend who won't buy an Apple Watch because
she wears a looser wrist, like a wristlet kind of thing or like a bangle kind of thing. So this could potentially open up the market for people who don't need to have their pulse checked all day long, but they want the other benefits that come along with an Apple Watch, so they can wear a looser band and enjoy it and get notifications and everything.
Or like a pocket watch.
A pocket watch and just be able to use Touch
around
ID.
The necklace.
So I could see this potentially being a good thing.
Yeah.
It could also be a step towards, I think, the inevitable destiny of the Apple Watch was to make it an independent device that does not require an iPhone or any other device ever. Apple now we got done. It's one thing for Apple to not support Android on a weather app. I mean, that's even I'm saying it would be nice, but I don't really expect them to do that. But how much money are they leaving on the table, given the absolute failure of Google to make any traction with Wear OS, and given how fragmented all other device fitness manufacturers are? If they had a device that did not need a phone in order to work, and maybe at worst just had here's a desktop app here's either a website you can hook it up to, or a simple little turnkey app for your phone that does nothing but changes some master settings or gets you into factory mode if it gets screwed up. How much more money would they make? They're already making it hand over fist. They would need more fists with which to put hands over the money. I really think that there was, and also we were talking about does companies that feel as though they have sort of an obligation to humanity to do certain things. If Apple keeps hitting this point over and over again about here's all the lives that we're saving, not just lives that we're changing with the Apple Watch, here's lives that we're changing, and now we're going to have an O2 sensor that even makes it even more capable, not only for fitness but also as a health device. what is their excuse for not putting out a simple Android app saying we only want Apple users to live if they have AFib? So this is what for so many reasons I think that it's inevitable for Apple to produce a standalone watch.
I don't know,
especially when it's such in my opinion, the Apple Watch is the life-saving device of the decade, of the century, maybe, because of its ability to detect falls, to let you call 911 if you're in an unsecure place without having to actually talk to anybody. The AFib detector, all of this stuff it's a lifesaver, and we've read dozens and dozens of articles of it literally being a lifesaver. And to be platform agnostic, or even not needing any platform, but to be a standalone Apple Watch so that your grandma who doesn't know how to use a phone could have it on her wrist. And you know that if something were to happen to her, you'd get an immediate response from some kind of emergency service. I think Apple could benefit the world by making Apple Watch completely agnostic and not needing a phone of any kind to connect to it.
A lot of goodwill coming out of that one.
Yeah,
you're right. According to people looking now at the iOS beta 13.4.5, because I guess that just came out, is that right? Just today?
Yeah.
There is in the code an iPhone model that has Touch ID as well as Car Key, as well as a few other of the more modern features, Express Transit Cards, Power Reserve. That sounds like that's 13.4.5 is getting ready for an iPhone 9. So another bit of information leading to, I think, an April release. Not quite confirming, but getting there.
Well, they could also change their minds. Like it's all up in flux.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a problem for Apple? I saw this. Samsung is planning to end all LCD production by the end of the year.
I don't know that they sourced LCD from Samsung.
Oh, okay.
The OLED they do, but I think LCD.
Okay.
And they just invested in Japan. Apparently, according to the rumors, they just gave quite a bit of money to Japan Display. So.
Yeah.
Right.
There are at least 3 or 4 different manufacturers of LCD. They're still in the business. That would be even if they had to tool up for Apple's business, they'd love to have it. So it's just an option of how long does Apple want to use LCD displays?
This Apple Insider.
I'm sorry, LCDs. Sorry, not LCD displays.
The Apple Insider story says Samsung has in the past supplied LCDs for the iPhone, iPad, and Mac, but demand has waned as Apple moves to OLED. But still, there's no OLED on the iPad. There's no OLED on the MacBook.
We're waiting on mini LCD.
Right.
LED. Sorry.
The Korean company fills a bulk of Apple's OLED orders for flagship iPhone models and Apple Watch, with LG picking up the slack. BOE is reportedly set to enter Apple's supply chain in 2020 or 2021. Yeah. So it doesn't sound
BOE
like
suddenly discovered Samsung's process and began offering it in China.
Yeah, probably. It's
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I should say speculation is that BOE has Samsung's process.
We figured it out. Yeah.
It's also worth mentioning that the reason why Samsung is shutting down LCD production is because they want to use that manufacturing capacity for more modern or next generation display technologies. So it's possible that if Samsung wants to deliver screens to Apple for any devices, they might be able to deliver something that is less expensive, more reliable, and actually higher quality.
Good news for Dropbox users, I guess. I mean, one of the features of iCloud that people liked was that your desktop and your documents folder would automatically be synced to iCloud. You couldn't do that with Dropbox. You had to have a Dropbox folder. Apparently, there's a beta out for Mac that can sync your desktop. Woo-wee. Woo-hoo. That's the first thing I turn off. In fact, I was so mad.
Me too. That's why I still use Dropbox.
Yeah, I was so mad that Apple turned that on by default. And I didn't even realize.
They ask you now. I think like the latest Macs I've installed, they ask you when you set them up.
I'm like, what? My desktop is being synced? What is? I don't want to sync my desktop. That's silly.
Thank God those 2,000 unlabeled screenshots from today all the way back to 2003.
Gotta save those, baby.
Are in the cloud.
So I've been using desktop sync. I think I turned it on for I initially had it on for a how-to guide and just left it on.
Yeah,
and
you love it?
I actually really like it. So I use my desktop in a different way now.
Is the value for you that all your Macs have the same desktop?
Yeah. So for me, I keep certain documents that I know that I'm going to access multiple times per day, every day. I just keep them on my desktop, and they're right there. I just click on them. I don't have to find them. I don't have to search for them. They're just right there, and I click on them. So that, for me, that's the benefit of it, is that whether I'm on my Mac or I'm on my MacBook Pro, they're just right there on my desktop for me. Now on my phone, I don't care. I don't need them syncing on my phone because I very rarely would access a file that's on my desktop on my phone. But if I did need to do that, if I happened to be, some out and about or was just on my phone and I knew that I had a file on my desktop, I could just grab it really quickly. So I do actually like it. I find it to be very beneficial. You're right. It seems ridiculous, but once you get used to it, the thought of not having it. Yeah. Yeah. And the thought of not having it is a little bit like, well, I have to go through 9 different steps if I want to get it from Dropbox. Whereas right now it's just right there on my desktop.
Okay. So. There you go. Yeah. Dropbox apparently agrees, Lory Gill. Time for our picks of the week. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Talk about it. I think I'm going to start with Rene Ritchie because he's all about the new.
Now, I think, Leo, I heard you. I was going to mention some of the Pokemon stuff, but I think I heard you talking about it with Micah already.
Yes, Micah. I don't know. I guess he's becoming a Pokemon guy. Wow.
Because they're doing a bunch of work from home stuff where you're going to be able to coordinate raids at home and do a whole bunch of other stuff to make it less about going out and walking and more about just communicating with your friends.
Right.
Yeah, so that's if you haven't played in a while and you're super bored, take a look at what they're doing now, and a lot of the stuff you used to have to run around and do, you can do at home.
I'll tell you, if you haven't played in a while, this game has really evolved. I really like the new Pokemon Go, and of course Lisa Lisa never stopped playing. You get to walk with your little friend, and Adventure Sync now will work in the house with exercise. There's a lot of reasons to take a look at it again. Yeah, but that's not.
And maybe we can raid together in the near future.
I could raid with you in your place and my place. That would be cool.
Yeah. Our virtual universe. Yeah. So my pick is because there's so many people who have to do meetings and everything at home, maybe even their world famous talk shows at home. One of the things that I find very useful and I see used a lot are these tiny Manfrotto tripods. You can get them many places. Apple was selling them for a while. And all they are is just a tiny tripod. You can get them with a standard mount on them, or you can get them with a little camera, with a little phone holder, and you can put any iPhone or Android phone into them, or a microphone. So whatever you're doing, if you're doing a lot of web meetings and you're just not happy with the cameras that come on the Macs, or you're worried, like Zoom has got huge security and privacy issues that you can avoid many of if you use the iOS version instead of the Mac version because it's sandboxed. And you just want something to put your device on and hold it for you, or to hold your better microphone. Manfrotto's small tripods are just excellent. I have a couple of them, especially when I was traveling. They were super useful for traveling. But now when I'm staying at home, like if I'm just sitting around on a table and I'm not using this big setup, I just put a microphone on that, put a phone on that, everything, and they just hold them up. You don't have to stack books. You don't have to they don't fall off your bag. They just do that one job very, very well.
They're the classic name in the tripods, but we always have the big Manfrottos. I didn't know they made little itty bitty. Yeah,
you can get Gorilla Pods too, but sometimes those are harder to manage with the legs than they really are worth. This just you open it up, you put it down, you adjust it, and you're good.
And it's a good price, $60 Canadian.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is in real money, but.
Well, I think is that the Canadian site? I can't tell.
Yeah, I'm on the Canadian site.
Oh, sorry, I pasted the link.
No, I don't mind.
That's like $4 US. It's got to
be. let me go to the United States and see. Oh yeah, it is $36.99. You guys get robbed.
Yep.
You get robbed.
It's not good right now. But the price of gas is so. If I could drive somewhere, the gas would be incredibly inexpensive.
Oh, that's good. Manfrotto, designed in Italy, $36.99 in the US. Bellissimo. Andy Genatko, your pick of the week.
I've got 2 good reasons to make my pick of the week. Charlie Monroe's Downie streaming video downloader. Number one, he's updated it to version 4 and added a whole bunch of really cool features. It's a very pretty new redesign. There's now a menu bar control. So when you're downloading stuff from YouTube, downloading stuff from Instagram, Facebook, whatever site you want, you can see how things are going and activate things from the menu bar. You can have more control over how it post processes things, so that I download things and put them on my media server, but I always used to have to do a whole bunch of extra steps to make sure it's named correctly and it's in the right format. And I just simply set it all up, and then he didn't need it. And it's only $20, and it's really, ever since I've been a user since early 3.0, actually maybe 2.0, and it's an app that I use all the time. And I'll tell you why. I really miss in the digital age not having a VCR hooked up to like regular cable TV, because sometimes their TV shows are like just you're taping Letterman, and sometimes the show is so good that you actually want to keep it. There's actually a guy, his nickname is Don Z, who has every single episode that Letterman ever did. He is actually the archiver of the show, based on his videotapes and his recordings and his archiving. When Worldwide Pants, the producers themselves, get a request for, hey, we need a copy of this show from this guest from this show from this year, they don't do it themselves. They say, oh, talk to this guy, Don Z. He has a copy of it, and he'll cut a deal for you. But what I miss is that if there's something that you just seen, you can't just keep it and have it in your library for keeps. And getting to the second reason why, beyond the upgrade, why this is a good recommendation, we're seeing so much unusual television now. We're seeing, again, the Colbert. We're seeing the late night shows being done in hosts' living rooms with off-the-shelf streaming technology with no laugh track and just making it up as they go. Don't you want to be able to watch that 5 years from now, when you've forgotten all about how much trouble that this pandemic was causing for everybody in the cost? And also, there's so many different arts organizations that are streaming their content for free to sort of help people to stay at home and be entertained. The Royal Theatre. National Theatre of London. They're rerunning the show that James Corden, the comedy stage play that James Corden kind of relaunched his career after he had his first big success, and then, according to the E! Hollywood story, he let it all slip away. And I've been wanting to see this play for so long, because I've heard it's all the reviews from the time are like, oh, this is hysterically funny, this is wonderful, you got to go see this. And it's going to be streaming on the site for the next week, starting Thursday night, and I'm going to be using Downie to make sure I capture it so that I can actually add it to my library and actually use it. If there is a donation page on the streaming site, I will donate and pretend that this is how. Okay, well, yes,
he was the same so person good in Cats. He was so good in Cats. I'll just never forget.
but yeah, he'll live that down. He's got to live that down for another year or two, but then he'll be back. But it's a great utility. Almost any streaming site you can name, apart from Hulu and Netflix, and HBO. But anytime that you're on Reddit or social media, and it's like, click this link to watch this video stream or watch this thing on YouTube or in this file. You just simply navigate to it with your browser, click a button in a browser plugin, and it simply opens. Or you just copy the URL, paste it in, and it will just automatically figure out where the video file is and download it. If for some reason it can't locate the video file, it even has a full web browser built in, a mode that it calls user-guided extraction. So if you need to, they don't charge if the streamer doesn't charge money for it, but you have to log in with your Google account or your Apple account or whatever. It will allow you to, within the Downie app, actually open up a web browser, do all the authentication you need to do, and then when it starts streaming, you'll see this beautiful, all these lights sort of light up in the sidebar of all the different sources of video that it sees, and then you click on one that looks like, okay, this looks like a 4K stream, and then you say, downloading 14 gigabytes of video, boom, got the right one. So anyway, $20, and boy, this is another one of those things where I couldn't have paid the money fast enough, because really well done, and I really hope that he keeps at it, because he not only built a good app, but he keeps updating it constantly, and I'd like to support that with my money.
And now, our pick of the week from Lory Gill, who has picked something unusual.
It's pretty cool, actually. So it's called FinalWipe. It's from a company called Final, and they make something called FinalStraw, which is a reusable straw. So they've come up with a disinfectant wipe that is reusable. So you can clean your surfaces. You can.
Which surfaces is it for?
Soft surfaces as well as hard surfaces, shall we say?
All the surfaces. Okay.
Your Microsoft surfaces.
This is weird. So they're cloth.
Yeah. So it's really. I mean, if you think about it, you can do this at home with your bleach and water thing. But what's interesting about it, what I do like about it, it's not very expensive for one thing, and it gives you the sensation of using disposable sanitizing wipes the way that you would at home. So a lot of people don't want to put out the extra effort of like using a sanitizer and a towel.
Right.
So this acts like it's doing that for you. So you feel like you're just using a wipe really quickly, and then you toss it in your laundry, and you fill it back up again, because it's a container that's filled with sanitizing solution that you have your towels all folded into. So it acts like it's a disposable sanitizing wipe, but it's not. You just wash them and do it again. So that's what I really like about this. I actually hate using sanitizing wipes around the house, and did not actually have any in my house when the coronavirus started, getting spread worldwide, and I couldn't find any sanitizing disinfectant wipes because I didn't keep them in the house because I don't want to waste all that extra paper. So with this, it's reusable, and it still gives you the same sort of sensation that you're just quickly pulling it out, you wipe it down. The only difference is you toss it in your laundry instead of in the garbage can. So it's kind of a neat little thing.
Interesting. Now, they're on Kickstarter. Can you get them now, or are you ordering this for some distant timeline?
I think they say that they're planning to ship August 2020, which obviously I would normally not take a Kickstarter shipping date as a real number, but in this time it's probably even worse. Like it's probably even more difficult to get that kind of stuff shipped out. But Final is a company that they've been around for a long time. That, like I said, they make the FinalStraw, so they're a known company. They're not just some randos who've never successfully had a Kickstarter or anything. So
they're kicking themselves, thinking we should have launched this 6 months ago.
Yeah,
this right. Huge, right?
My guess is the idea for this was to come out with this because this is April 1st starts environmental month. It's Earth Day is on the 22nd. Yeah,
that's
so
right.
They were probably originally yeah, and then they might have even launched it a little early, thinking, well, this is a really good time to launch this kind of thing because it's disinfectant wipes, which everybody wants right now.
I love the team, by the way. It's mostly women. And one guy and one dog, and the CEO.
Well, someone has to test it, Leo.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The CEO and founder has a master's from Harvard Environmental Management and Sustainability, and worked in waste minimization at the Los Alamos National Lab before starting Final. So it's kind of cool. I think it's neat.
And if you want something from the company that already does exist, they make the FinalStraw, which is a reusable straw that folds down to about 2 inches. I think I have a spare one around here somewhere that I would like to show you, but it folds down to about 2 inches tall, so you can throw it in your purse, your backpack, your bag. When you go to restaurants, you can just pull it out, use it instead of having to use the plastic straws. You shove it back in your little container. It comes with its own cleaning kit, so it has a little like a pipe cleaner with a scrubber on the end of it, so you can even just take it in the bathroom if you carry this around at work or something like that. Scrub it out and then put it right back in. So they're pretty great. I got everybody for Christmas a couple years ago. I got them FinalStraw because they're not very expensive, and it helps people.
I guess we know what we're getting this Christmas.
Some sanitizing wipes.
Do they do custom logos?
Or just my face? Just put my face on it.
Yes.
People be happy to use it. What is the chemical in here? Do they say? They don't.
They don't actually say.
I'm very curious.
I didn't watch the official video. They might say it in the video, but they just say that it's non-toxic. That's all that their information is.
Well, I hope it's toxic to germs.
Yeah, and they may not want to give that information out.
Right.
I don't know.
And the cloth is silver lined as an antimicrobial.
Made of bamboo.
Bamboo, the big bamboo.
Bamboo. Yeah. So they're definitely trying to be environmentally sustainable. So
go to Kickstarter, search for FinalWipe, or as we say, FinalWipe, and you can get in on that. What?
Can I share my?
It's the
Can I share my ignorance?
Yes.
I saw this in the rundown. I didn't actually click the link. I thought that is this like sort of like open source version of Final Cut or a parody of Final Cut?
Unrelated to video editing.
It's transitions. It's transitions. It's a final wipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I get it. And I'm just curious. Is the mermaid Emma Rose Cohen is the founder, the model for the mermaid on the front? I'm curious now.
Disney's gonna be mad. Disney's gonna be mad.
She has a certain aerial flair to her, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I would say.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this thrilling, gripping edition of MacBreak Weekly. Lory Gill is at imore.com, where she is a managing editor. She's also, of course, the star of Sickburn, currently on hiatus. We're letting their throats recover.
Yeah.
You can find her, though, on the Twitter, Appaholic, APPAHOLIK. Thank you, Lory.
Thank you.
Yes. Andy Anatko, he's on WGBH Boston. Were you pushed last week?
Nope. I was on Friday at 12:30. I'm on most Fridays. I'm on this Friday at 11:30. You get to hear me. You don't get to see me from this studio, but you get to hear me from this studio because we are isolated.
Oh, yes. So you're going to do it from there, where you are right now?
I'm going to do it, which is wonderful because normally, like, I have to know everything before I go in there. But sometimes, because of all this stuff I've got, I can actually quietly say, well, there are a lot of factors involved in what would make that work in our society while I'm quietly typing and Googling for information. I think I remember,
Now we know
but
your
I got to make
secret.
sure that I'm about to, yeah, exactly.
There's nothing like a fine Matthias keyboard for soft typing.
Clickety.
I used to have a clickety keyboard, and now I've got a nice.
Oh, sorry, that's my dehumidifier just kicked in. It's a lot of relays. It's an old World War II salvage.
And of course, Rene Ritchie, who is now officially a YouTube star.
Out the door. She kicked me right out the door, Leo.
YouTube.com/Rene Ritchie, RITCHIE. He's also a Rene Ritchie on Twitter. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good luck. Now, what is your video production schedule? Are you going to be doing daily?
Yeah, I'm going to try to do Monday to Thursday, just analysis shows, and then Friday or Saturday, a deeper dive show. We'll see if I can stick to that. It might slip to 3 news shows and a deep dive.
It's a lot of work. But you were doing Vector Daily. You can do it.
I was doing it like 3 to 4 times a week.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just, I got to say before we close, I have always been amazed and inspired by Rene's work ethic. He sets a goal and he doesn't just meet it, but he exceeds it. And I would not have thought that he could have taken his wonderful work as a written journalist and not only be so prolific on YouTube, but also create so many videos at such a consistently high level of quality for content and for video. And I could not say, Rene, how excited I was but if this is how good a video channel Rene can do when he's part-timing it, imagine when it's got its full attention. That's awesome. This is going to be, I don't know if you have t-shirts yet, but give me an XL.
Oh, that logo, right? His RR logo is so nice. I love it.
That's Simon. Cool. Yeah, Simon Bookmaster. It's at Forgotten Towel. A nice Hitchhiker's Guide reference. At Forgotten Towel on Twitter.
That would be a fantastic T-shirt.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Make those.
Well, people will be calling me Rene from time to time, but that could work in my favor.
Subscribe. I think you've gone up about 1,000 subscribers just since the show began. So everybody get on over there, ring the bell. Press the button, the red button, ring the bell. Rene Ritchie, youtube.com/Rene Ritchie. Thank you, Rene. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for spending your COVID time with us today. your daily COVID hour.
Our quarantine content.
Again, those of us who do live alone, it's like, I'm so glad to have human contact, even through this weird flat piece of glass of window.
To see your faces.
It is not so bad, is it? It's kind of hanging out with your buddies.
Exactly.
We do it every Tuesday.
It's always fun. Now it's also mental health.
It's needed.
We're quarantine proof, Leo. The show's quarantine proof.
Yeah. Well, it is with this Brady Box thing. We've got these these panels are made out of solid steel. Yeah. We do MacBreak Weekly on Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, right after iOS Today. Actually, be a good thing to just tune in for the whole morning because it's all iOS. And then, of course, afterwards, it's Security Now. So really, Tuesday's a great day to listen all day. And I think we've all got the time.
We're going a little bit batty in here, Leo. I know what I'm saying. Just a little bit batty. Fine. Everything's fine.
11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC. Come by, say hi. You can watch the live stream or listen at twit.tv/live. All of our shows are available on demand, not only on YouTube, of course, youtube.com/twit. And then you got to get your phone.
Get it to work.
You got to get your phone.
Okay,
and then
got it.
pull it down, and then it changed
I'm not
colors.
good at this.
It turned into stark green coming down. Oh, they're having such fun. Watch the video, you'll understand.
See, that's why you got to wash those phones coming down from Canada.
Yeah.
Twit.tv/MBW is the website. Subscribe if you would in your podcast client. That way you'll have it automatically. You can also ask your favorite voice assistant, something like, I don't know, Echo, play MacBreak Weekly. Sometimes you have to say on TuneIn, sometimes not. Sometimes you have to say play MacBreak Weekly podcast. You'll figure out what the syntax is depending on your device, but then you can listen to the latest episode automatically. That counts too. We do appreciate your being here, and I hope you stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. And now, get back to work or lunch or your bunny slippers, whatever's most meaningful to you, because break time is over. Bye-bye.